I'm just out here perusing, and I've got myself a new toy here. Here's a quick update if you're new to the channel. This is a first generation RAV4. Picked it up on the island about 1.5 years ago. Absolutely mint. I paid $2,200 for it. I drove it home in the winter through the Coca-Cola, which was a bit of an event. I'll put links to these videos in the description below. I got it home, and about 2 months ago or so, I was about to get the out of province done for it. And the day of that happening, I was T-boned by a complete potato head. Weeks and weeks went by messing around with insurance. They paid me out $4,800. And recently I went to a wrecker's and found an absolutely great shape driver's side fender and door. And I pulled those off the donor vehicle. There you go, guys. That's the inner fender plastic. And that was a score. I was pumped about that. Almost had to fight somebody for it, but it was worth it. And that's kind of the end of the story up until now. Oh yeah. So there's that green door. I got it professionally painted and it's ready to go. I've got all the supplies I need for the install. There's the damage. That's the problem right there. And again, this was minty up until that. I am gonna keep this part. I need this, and I also need this. So there's a couple more 10 mil up here along the fender, and there's a bunch up under here. So that panel you can just slap around and rip it right off, but there's one piece here, and I just pried it out. This little trim piece. You pop this plastic guy off with a flathead screwdriver, and there's a little nut in there that will let you take this guy off. The rest of them are just snaps, so you gotta make sure you get that one. This is also a 10 millimeter. So there's two of these fasteners, one here and one at the other side. The only problem is my door doesn't open all the way because of that potato head. So you can't just rip that down like this. So you gotta use a special tool. I'm using a ski here. A snow shovel works as well, or a hockey stick if you got one lying around. But I'll use the ski to pop it out. It should work great. There you go, so that guy's off. And I just gotta pop this plastic panel off, and that gives me access to the wiring harness for the door, all the electronics on the door. So it sounds like fun and games, but I'm gonna have to pop the skin off on the inside and get this lock out. I gotta reuse this, of course. That other door doesn't work with my key. So that's pretty easy. There's just one little plastic nut you take off, trim piece, and it exposes the wiring harness for the door, and then you just pull it through. That's one, that's the other one. Pretty easy stuff. Pop the door skin off of my RAV4, and you know what? I saved you guys the headache of watching it. And then you just got to lift it up. That top edge has a little bit of a lip. Here is this another 10 mil, and that's holding your handle mechanism on, and it just pops out. Just kind of make sure you don't lose it in there or get a magnetic head. Otherwise, you'll be swearing. Number two is on this side. I don't know if you can see it in there. So I got the assembly out, and it's a lot of swearing, guys. I had to cut it out. You got to get your hand up in there, and it's not made for regular size hands. I was cutting myself and swearing. And then you get this guy. I don't know if you can see it. Here's the back side of that thing. You got a rod that fits up in there, and that clamps over it. So you got to get something up there to pry that rod out once you've taken that little yellow cap. If you move it up, it lets the rod pop out. So did that, a lot of swearing. And then this guy here, that's the main deal right there. Again, I want to keep all these parts because the next potato head is going to run into me no doubt soon. So I'm just going to pop this guy off here, and hopefully there's not going to be much swearing. So I've got two bolts underneath this front fender I got to get rid of, but they're covered by this running board tube thing. So I got to take that off. And when I took the cap off, the front trim piece, it's just full of dirt. So this tube is full of dirt as well. So I got to get this guy off. It's got three areas where it fastens to the vehicle's body, and I got to take those off, and they're rusty and nasty. And there's my mat. And up front here, I've got two hard to get at 10 mil bolts. They kind of, you can get your hand between the bumper here and the fender, and it's best to have a ratcheting 10 mil to get those off. Otherwise you're there, you know, doing a quarter turn at a time. So the fender's off. I got those two nasty ones in there, and this fender's ready to go except for those two bottom ones, the bottom bolts. But check inside here. I don't know if you can see that. Look at the mud caked on. That's all mud. Crazy. I can't believe this thing's not rusted out. So that's something to watch for, watch for is the crap that these things can gather. So there's 3 brackets holding the dirt tube up, and each bracket has 2 of these guys. And none of these snapped off, believe it or not. But yeah, this thing is, the front of it especially, nothing's in the back, just a dirt scoop. So I got that down. I'm not gonna take the 3rd one off because I don't have to, and I'm not gonna remove this right now. There's no rust or anything on this car. It's bizarre. So I'm gonna get at these 2 screws that were hard to get at, and that fender will come off, then I'll pop the door off. And there's one more inside the door here, which I've already taken out. So this is the handle that came out of the green door, and you know, I was changing the lock out, and I had to pop the handle out, and the nut just spun in the plastic, and I couldn't get it out, man. It wasn't coming out, so I had to smash it up with a pair of pliers. And this whole deal here, that was a nightmare, man. I don't think, you know what, if it happens again to the RAV, I'd rather set it on fire. I just got this thing back. It's passed, and it's properly plated. Hey, I haven't done a video in a long time. I've been working my butt off. Yeah, and I'm finishing up the project, so there'll be some time here for videos. I got a bunch of stuff kind of in the making, but nothing really done except for this one. I'm just out here perusing the landscape, and I've got myself a new toy on my shoulder. It's a CZ457. I'm not really a 22 guy, although you can swap barrels out with this and shoot 22 mag and 17 HMR, so that's pretty cool. But last year, I think I went through about 2,000 rounds last year. But look inside here, this is cool. This thing is awesome. I'll show you how I put this together. This is made for a Jeep, and these things are awesome. It's all Molle webbing here, so you can attach stuff to it. In case of this RAV, I could probably put some oil in there, or whatever supplies you got going on. And this guy just pops down like that. This is off of Amazon, and it's around, I think around 100 bucks. And there's a couple different kinds you can get, but this one I thought was pretty cool, just because it's got 2 shelves. So there you go, Molle webbing. You know what, you can put your cooker on there, whatever you got going on, or bullets. This guy just hooks up like that, same one on that side. And I did this with riv nuts, and I'll show you that here quickly in a second, how I did that. You can see one's there. I just popped 3 of these trim screws out. You can see them there, and the one in the middle. And behind them, of course, is steel. So it's a perfect place to fasten this thing to. And I used a template, and I have lots of template material around. And one's there, and I got that guy down there. I got to paint it black still. And it goes in quick and easy. Riv nuts are awesome, and I just used these holes here that are existing, and I know there's metal back there. So this thing works great. It's just an awesome thing to have. Very useful for sure. There's that beauty RAV4 in the background. That thing's all done, ready to go. And I got some other stuff I want to do with it as well. One of them being, I'm gonna give it a lift, because I got to get over these gopher holes at speed. So the RAV is done, ready to go. It's looking good. The paint isn't dead on. I'm gonna give it another, it's driving me nuts. It's a bit out. I'm gonna give it a bit of a going over, just to make sure it's looking as good as it can. I don't know, the guy screwed up, I think, but it looks pretty good. Beautiful day out here. It's about 24°C, which is about 75 or 80 degrees. It's just beautiful. Wind's blowing, but really, like 2 weeks ago, we had snow on the ground. That there is about 2,600 pounds of Black Angus. Obviously a bull. There's just a ton of gophers out here, and so lots of reactive targets.